What's up, guys? Welcome back to On the Clock Podcast, your center for the NFL Draft. I'm Leo, as always, with Donovan and Tyler. We have 3 segments for you, as usual. We have Donovan's Top 10, love it or hate it, and then we have a new one today, our Combine reactions. The guys will be breaking down their winners and losers of the Combine. So let's get started with Donovan's first winner of the Combine.
Yeah, so we did 3 total. I have 1 winner and 2 losers. He's got 2 winners, 1 loser. So I'll go in with my 1 winner, and I think everyone can agree that this guy was easily the biggest winner of the Combine, and that is Ohio State linebacker Sonny Styles. We knew he could ball from his time at Ohio State, but he just came in and just had the best Combine performance in terms of physical. He measured at 6'5", 245. He then had an 11.2 broad jump, which was 4th all-time for linebackers, 4th highest, and it was the highest-ranked vertical for anyone over 240 pounds since 2003. So a little niche ESPN stat for you guys right there. And then he had a 43.5 vertical, which was 1st all-time for linebackers, and then came out and ran a 4.46 40-yard dash. So we've talked about Sonny Styles plenty of times on the show. We knew he was going to be looking at a top 10 to 15 pick, but now probably looking at a top 5 selection, even as high as the Jets at number 2 overall we've seen. And, I mean, good for him. He's a great player. I would love him to go at the Jets rather than him falling to 12 and possibly going to Dallas like we saw in a lot of mocks prior to the Combine.
Yeah, Sonny Styles he's just a freak athlete.
Absolute freak.
He is an insane athlete. I think he also made himself top 5 potential with his Combine performance. Let's hop over to Tyler for his winner of the Combine.
So my first winner, I had Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end out of Oregon. He started off breaking the tight end 40-yard dash record with a 4.39 on his second run and already improved his draft status. And we've seen him be tied to be like in the late first round, and he might find a more reasonable landing spot now somewhere maybe even higher up, maybe even as high as the teens. But he is the best player in his position by far. There is no bigger gap between number 1 and number 2 in the tight ends in this draft. He clearly proved that, and he's definitely a first-round talent.
Absolutely. Best tight end in the draft. Excited to see where he goes, considering he will be a late first-round draft pick.
Right.
So let's get into Donovan now with his 2 losers.
Yeah, and when you talk about the Combine, as fans, we look forward to the drills and the measurements. But if you talk to coaches or GMs, they'll tell you they're looking forward to the interviews with players and the medical exams. And there's always 1 or 2 major players that have injuries that we didn't know about that are revealed in these medical exams. And unfortunately, that was the case for Ohio State safety, Caleb Downs. And this guy is my top prospect in the class. He's regarded as one of the top prospects in the class and one of the best safety prospects that we've ever seen. Unfortunately, it was revealed that he had a major knee injury related to his ACL in the Combine. Besides that, I wasn't even sure if he did drills. I just know that was the main story. I still think he is a top, at worst, 15 pick. I couldn't see him dropping past 13 when the Rams. I think around right now with that knee injury, we're probably looking at the Chiefs pick, which we talked about Jeremiah Love before, but after the Kenneth Walker signing in free agency, I would be very surprised if they spent that high draft premium on a running back. If he's even there, maybe we see someone like the Titans take him at 4. But unfortunately for Caleb Downs, this injury will probably put a hurt in his draft stock, and we could see him drop further than before, although he is still one of the best safety prospects we've seen in a long, long time.
Yeah. Hate to see it. I saw him going 2 to the Jets, but then with the injury, I hate seeing his stock lower because he's just a baller at the safety position. Let's switch back over to Tyler for his second winner of the Combine.
For my second winner, I had Kalen Banks, the defensive tackle out of Florida. He's 6'6", 330 pounds, 35-inch arms, and he moved himself into potentially the best defensive tackle in this draft with rare movement for his size. He had great movement, great athleticism, and he should be in that conversation for the best defensive tackle. And he really played his way into maybe even a top 15 or 20 pick. And like I said, he could be the first defensive tackle off the board in this draft. He had a great combine and used his size to his advantage, and he really improved his stock.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's voter fatigue or what, but I think what we saw a lot in the beginning of the draft process was Peter Woods as that top D tackle, and as of recently, he's been moving down boards. And even though Banks has only played 3 games, he's been rising up boards, and like you said, could easily be that top tackle taken.
All right, Donovan, continue with your third one for the combine reactions.
Yeah, so my last combine reaction and my second loser is a guy that wasn't really a glorified prospect going into the combine anyway, but that is Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia. He didn't have a great start to his throwing session, which of course is what everyone's going to overreact about, but that's not even the main problem. He measured in at 5'10".
Yeah.
That is, for an NFL player, for any athlete, that is small, but especially when you're a quarterback, I really think the only guys that have had somewhat success in that range of height is like some slot receivers and running backs maybe. Mm-hmm. Again, Pavia wasn't a glorified prospect going into it, and I'm really sure that didn't help. If he gets drafted, it's going to be a day 3 pick, but he did do a cool backflip at the end.
So it wasn't even with his position group. It was with like
I know, it was with his own random. So, yeah.
I guess. All right, let's move into Tyler's last one for the combine reaction.
So this is my loser from the combine. I had Malachi Fields, the wide receiver at Notre Dame. We originally talked about him as one of the best Senior Bowl performers, but he ran a 4.61 40-yard dash, the second slowest among wide receivers, which raised concerns about his speed. And then his performance in the agility drills weren't any more impressive. And he's leaving Indianapolis in the combine with hope that NFL teams place more stock in his performance at the Senior Bowl rather than his combine, because his combine performance was kind of poor, but his Senior Bowl he had a good Senior Bowl performance as a standout, so he's kind of going to be relying on that for his draft stock.
Yep. All right, so that was the winners and losers for the combine. So now we're going to move into Donovan's top 10. He's doing the hogs this episode. Offensive tackles. He had put his glasses on for this.
Yeah, I had to.
Very studious.
I had to make sure I was reading right, because we're talking about the trenches here. The outside of the trenches, your left and right tackles for the 2025 draft class. I'm excited to get back into the top 10 segment, and we got tackles today. So let's start off. Number 10, Caleb Tiernan out of Northwestern. I know Tyler has talked about him on the show before. He's a big-time run blocker, which is, definitely where he specializes. And he's getting in his pass blocks, he's getting really low, and his arms are looking a little slow. He's not the best, smartest pass blocker. And something, very specific that I noticed is that he just seems to struggle immensely against spin moves. And you don't see it a lot, but when you do see it, you notice the struggle in him. And sometimes it just feels like he's not doing everything he could to give his best effort and make a block on the play. So I got him at number 10, probably looking at a late day 2, early day 3 pick. Probably day 2, though, with how tackles fly off the board. Number 9, I have Austin Barber, the tackle out of Florida. His footwork is super clean and his hands are very good. He's a super technical dude, and he's super dominant in the run game with a strong base. He's got a high motor, plays through the whistle, and he has no problem really just throwing guys in the dirt. It seems like what he likes to do. But he's about an average pass blocker. Nothing to really knock on him, but I have him at 9 just because the other guys just excel more in what they do specifically than he did. Number 8, I have Iowa offensive tackle. He's a favorite on the clock here. It is Jennings Dunker. We talked about him multiple times. I think I talked about him with my favorite fits for the Eagles. We talked about him after the Senior Bowl. There might have even been another time, but he gets brought up a lot, so there's not really have to say that I haven't said before. He digs deep. He's got that raw strength. He's a beast in the run game, and he's going to play through the snap or through the whistle every snap. He's a dog mentality. We've seen it now in the season, in the Senior Bowl, and he's got one heck of a red mullet. Oh, yeah. And any football team would love to have him. Unfortunately, I was really loving him as a prospect for the Eagles, but similar to my number 4 guy, I think he's a little bit raw and has some developing to do. And with the loss of Jeff Stoutland, I'm not a huge fan of that pick just because we don't know what this new offensive line coach is going to bring in terms of development. Moving on to number 7, I really got to nail how to say this last guy's name. It's the Arizona State tackle, Max Ihianacore, I think is how you say it. I got to work on it again. He is a big-time pass blocker. He's really good with his hands, and he's very quick. His body is very square until contact is made. He's moving, but you'd like to see him be a little more flexible, and he's really nothing special at all as a run blocker, and he's not a very good downhill blocker, so he's kind of just good in his space. He's very content there, and you'd like to see him move around a little bit more. But this is a guy that a lot of people are pretty high on, maybe even as a late first-round pick. And again, these top 7 and up are about late first round to, well, not all late first round, but these guys at the bare minimum, 5, 6, 7, are going to be early second-round picks. Moving on to number 6, a guy I've been high on. I believe I've talked about him on the show. It is Clemson tackle Blake Miller. He has super quick feet and quick instincts, and his footwork is just beautiful. Some of the best in this class. He's not one to bite on the pass rush, moves, whether it's spin, rip, swim move, any of that. And he's really not letting anyone get past him one-on-one. He definitely shines more as a pass protector, if you couldn't tell from what I was just saying, than a run blocker. But he's still a high-level run blocker, and he has potential there. He has background as a high school wrestler, which I thought would be cool to mention, just that one-on-one physical aspect. He has a strong background in. But sometimes he does get a little ahead of himself and makes decisions a little too quickly, overbites, stuff like that. But that wraps up the first half. Tyler, is there anyone that I left out? We've talked when we've done this top 10. Anyone I left out that you wanted to mention?
Yeah, a guy that we've mentioned on the show before, Isaiah World from Oregon. I feel like he could maybe slide in there in the top 10. He started all 15 games for Oregon this year, was second all-team, all Big Ten, and he's good mobility and is patient with his arms and his hands. He kind of has some issues by losing. He'll lose battles very quickly sometimes, and he kind of has like unrefined skill set so far, which means he could be like a day 3 pick or maybe a very late day 2 pick, but I feel like he could be a guy that might slide into the top 10 offensive tackles.
Yeah, and the only thing else I'd say about him is don't forget the torn ACL he suffered against Indiana in the playoffs. So he's going to miss a significant amount of time, which is the main reason that I have left him out of my top 10. But let's get into the top 5, the better half of my top 10, I guess, if you will. I have the first of 2 Utah tackles, the right tackle, I think, Caleb Lomu. I would say he specializes more as a run blocker opposite to the other tackle that we'll talk about. He has a high and wide stance in pass blocking, but he also got shifted around a lot of different positions on the line, so he has that versatile background that maybe coaches are looking for and value more than other things in these other tackles that I'm about to talk about. But he's got poor footwork, and he's not great on blitz pickups. Those were the 2 red flags that I noticed, and they were significant enough to keep him below these next 2 guys. Number 4, another guy, I mean, we've talked about all these guys at this point, but it's Caden Proctor out of Alabama, an absolute monster of a human being. He's an animal. He has potential to be one of the best pass protectors in the league, in my opinion, but he is just extremely raw. He tends to overcommit on angles, especially on inside protections, and he let up 17 sacks in the past 3 years. So while he seems to have all the talent in the world and just needs to be developed, it's something to look out for. Again, when we did our first mock draft, I believe, I had him going to the Eagles at 23.
Yeah, I believe so too.
What?
I think he did that too,
I think so. And, that was with Jeff Stoutland, who has such a strong history of developing tackles. Jordan Mailata, who had never even played football before. I thought Caden Proctor would have been a perfect fit with Lane Johnson only playing likely 1 more year. But now with the departure of Jeff Stoutland, I wouldn't say the Eagles is his ideal situation in terms of a team. Tyler, what do you think that ideal situation is for Proctor?
Yeah, I think he would fit good with either the Chargers or the Texans. I think he'd fit right in with Jim Harbaugh's system with his physicality, and he could play guard or right tackle, so he could be behind Joe Alt or Rashawn Slater. Mm-hmm. And then I've also seen reports about the Texans maybe potentially taking him in the top 30, and he could potentially even be a starting spot there. But I would say one of those 2 teams is where he would fit best.
Yeah, and with all the injuries we saw in that Chargers offensive line, I'd say that's definitely a team to watch out for.
The only issue I see with the Chargers is they do have Rashawn Slater and Joel as their tackles. But as you said, he could move to guard and really strengthen maybe Herbert's blind side. I would like that. But then, again, they do still have 2 solid tackles. So maybe, as you said, the Texans. I think the Texans could be ideal for Proctor to end up there.
Right, and they brought in multiple free agents on the interior line. Tyler Biadasz, Cole Strange, and Trevor Penning. Mm-hmm. Both guards being yesterday. I'm pretty sure Biada's was a few days ago because he got released
Yeah.
technically. But either way, they're working on protecting Herbert. But I wouldn't say any three of those are significant enough to pass on a potential first round
true.
selection. And as for the Texans, they need all the offensive line help
Yeah.
they can get after this past playoffs. I just saw they signed Braden Smith, the right tackle, today. So they're making moves. Good for them. Let's get into the top three, though. Going with a Georgia Bulldog at 3, and talk about a combine winner, Monroe Freeling, out of Georgia. He had a heck of a combine. I mean, he was being talked about. If I had to do another winner, I would have done him. He was being talked about as a potential, second-round pick or very late first round. He's now being talked as a potential top 10 pick in this year's drafts, getting mocked to the Browns at 9, where we saw Fano a lot earlier, which I'll get to in a second. But what a turn of events for Freeling, and he is very impressive. He's been skyrocketing up these boards for a reason. He has long arms and good strength, and he uses that to his advantage every single play. He's extremely good with his hands. You're going to see him fighting in there. And the only questionable things I would say are his footwork, but his legs are very strong in the run game. So I would be on the lookout for how his draft stock is affected these next, month and a half until the draft, because we're looking at a possible top 10 pick. Tyler, do you think teams could be possibly overreacting to what we saw in the combine, considering he was barely a first-round pick before that?
I would say to an extent, yes, because I wouldn't say that it's a total overreaction, but before the combine, he was considered to be a top 50 pick and a second rounder. So to see him have such a huge climb, I wouldn't say it would be a complete overreaction, but all the way into a top 10 pick, it might be a little bit of an overreaction to have him climb so far. But like I said, to an extent, yes, but at a certain point, I wouldn't say it would be crazy.
Right. I feel like the only other guy we really saw with this high of a jump after the combine was maybe Dylan Thieneman, who was a he was a day 2, like not even confirmed second round safety, and now he's being talked about as a top 18 pick potentially. Maybe we see him with the Eagles after the departure of Reed Blankenship, maybe, just maybe. Let's get into the top 2. Spencer Fano, who I just mentioned, to the Browns, he was being mocked there a lot, and I mentioned him with Caleb Lomu because he is the second tackle I've talked about that went to Utah this year. And he is also very versatile. He's played right tackle and left tackle, which is something, again, that teams value a lot at the next level. He gives a great second effort, and he's very patient. He's letting the defender come to him, and he's really solid in all parts of his game, pass blocking, run blocking. He's solid in it all. You're getting a very, I'd say, safe player out of him. You know what you're getting. He's likely a day 1 starter. But with Monroe Freeling's stock rising, could we see Fano possibly falling, maybe even outside of the top 10? And where would you say he would land, Tyler?
Yeah, so I think we could see him fall. In the past, we've said he's been a little overrated on a couple of episodes, and I could see him falling past Freeling, and he could still be a first-round pick, and I think he could fall towards the end of the first round. Maybe the Texans pick him up if Proctor's gone. Maybe the Chargers pick him up, like for the same reasons we said they would go with Proctor. So, I do think we're going to see him fall a little bit, though.
Yeah, I agree. But let's get in to my number 1 tackle in the 2026 draft class. Almost said 2025. It is Francis Maunoa out of Miami. We saw him dominate not just all regular season, but all throughout the playoffs up until the national championship, where he continued to dominate. He is very technical and has extremely quick feet, which is impressive for how big he is. He's super powerful on poles, and he plays through the whistle. He is just not a guy that you are going to want to face one-on-one. He's very smart in pass protection with his hands, and I think this guy is a day 1 starter. I said Spencer Fano was safe. Maunoa is safe and has the potential to be so much better. We're seeing him mocked, top 3 right now to the Cardinals, which I don't think anybody has him top 3 on their big board, but we could see him as a potential top 3 pick, and I'm very excited to watch this guy at the next level and get selected April 23rd on draft night. But that wraps up my top 10 offensive tackles.
All right. Thank you, Donovan. Always has the best top 10s. Really got it done with the Hogs there.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to move into our last segment here, love it or hate it. As always, I'm going to ask the guys hypothetical situations. They're going to tell me if they love or hate it. I influenced this one based off free agency because crazy day in free agency yesterday. gangs, departures. So we're going to get into it here. I'm going to start with Donovan. Eagles number 54 of a pick, A.J. Halsey, safety out of LSU.
Before we get into it, we did just have some news.
Oh, gosh.
Nashawn Wright, who was second in interceptions
Okay,
in the league, has signed a 1-year deal with the Jets. Only $5.5 million for the corner with 5 interceptions. Again, that was second in the league. But the Jets really restructuring their defense.
Yeah.
Mario Davis, Joseph Osai, Minka Fitzpatrick, and now Nashawn Wright. But let's get into
they can
this.
probably
Sorry,
get an
I
interception.
had to break the news real quick. I had to have my Schefter moment. But you said A.J. Halsey to the Eagles in the second round. I mean, given we don't take a safety in the first round, which obviously we wouldn't take 2, I love this move so much. I'm a big fan of A.J. Halsey. I see resemblances to C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He has great awareness and great acceleration. He likes to hit people, which if you've watched Eagles football the past few years, you know he would fit right in. He's making plays on the ball, and he's smart in zone coverage. I love him as a prospect, and if we can snag him at 54 with hopefully maybe Sadiq or someone in the first round if we don't bring back Goddard, I love it so much. I can't even come close to hating it.
Yeah, my logic behind this one, you just lost Reed Blankenship yesterday.
I love Reed.
Yeah.
All love for Reed Blankenship
Reed,
here.
we know you're watching. Donovan misses you. Anyway, you have Makuba, who's pretty solid, but then you really need Sidney Brown.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I don't think you want Sidney Brown as your starting safety.
If we went out there with Sidney Brown starting, I don't even know. I would definitely watch.
So
but
I feel like you just need to draft a safety to go aside with Makuba. 2 young safeties could really work. So that was my logic behind that one.
I love it.
So I'm going to go to Tyler now, the Lions' number 50 overall pick, Keith Abney, the cornerback out of Arizona State.
I'm not a big fan of this one. I think they already have DJ Reed and Terrion Arnold, and they had really solid depth in 2025, even with the injuries they had. So I think they could focus somewhere else with this pick. I don't think they really need to go after a cornerback at 50th overall.
Yeah, I just thought the weak secondary mostly last year, and then they just got rid of Akeem Mesidor. So I thought bringing in a young corner could help, but I mean they do need some help in other places. So I could see them spending the pick on another player. So let's move into Donovan's next one. Saints number 42 overall, Jacob Rodriguez, linebacker out of Texas Tech.
Yeah, Rodriguez was maybe even the best linebacker, best defensive player in all of college football this year. And we're talking about him as a day 2 pick. I mean, there are stuff you can nitpick, but he, at the end of the day, is incredibly smart, has incredibly quick instincts, and I think it can be an elite run defender in the league. He led the FBS in forced fumbles, which is something that can likely translate to the NFL. Maybe not, the amount that he had in college, but it's a trait you like to see in a guy you're going to take that early. And as for the Saints, we just talked about Demario Davis to the Jets, or I mentioned it. They lost Demario Davis, which was a big part of their defense. Their starting off-ball linebacker. So I would say I love this. It's 42. Maybe that's a little bit of a reach, but once you get past the first round, it's really just like you take your guys. There's not really a best available because boards are going to be all over the place. So I would say I love this pick for the Saints.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Demario Davis really influenced this one. Rodriguez isn't really ranked at the 42 range. He's a little bit higher than that. But, I mean, if he's still there and this is what you really want, I say the Saints should act on it.
Yeah.
Secondly, for Tyler over here, we have the Colts number 47 overall pick, Jeremy Bernard, wide receiver out of Alabama.
Yeah, I would love this pick for them. I think he had a great combine. He had a really fast 40-yard dash. And the Colts, who just traded Michael Pittman to the Steelers, and I think they kind of maybe overpaid for Alec Pierce. Really don't have many other wide receivers outside of those guys. I think Jeremy Bernard would be a great fit for them, explosive, and also strengthen that wide receiver room, which got a little bit weaker by losing Pittman. And they also don't have as much money to spend because of the big Pierce deal. So I would really love this pick for them.
Yeah, like they have Pierce. Alec Pierce is your wide receiver 1.
He just got paid like a wide receiver 1. He better be.
I never thought I'd hear Alec Pierce and wide receiver 1 in the same sentence, but whatever.
Here we are.
But yeah, like your receivers under them, Josh Downs, he was pretty solid, but I think he is more of a wide receiver 3 type of guy, and really no one else besides Downs. So I think bringing in Bernard could really help their receiving core, especially if they keep Daniel Jones under center. I think it'll really boost their offense there.
I think he would be a great fit with that offense.
Yeah. Next one here, we have the Seahawks, number 64 overall pick, Mike Washington Jr., running back out of Arkansas.
Yeah, I just talked about him a few weeks, a 6'2" running back.
Yeah.
And although Kenneth Walker is gone and Zach Charbonnet tore his ACL, or was it Achilles or ACL? I think it was ACL.
Yeah,
ACL,
Yeah,
ACL.
very late in the season. We're likely not going to see him. You either start George Halani, sign someone, or draft someone, but I'm going to go hate it, and I do think they should take a running back, not only for the time that Charbonnet is gone, but also to play with Charbonnet when he is back, which is why I think there's better fits. Maybe it's Emmett Johnson or Jadarius Price or even Jamari Taylor out of Virginia. I think those guys go better as a fit with Zach Charbonnet than maybe Mike Washington does. So if I have to go one, because I can't go in the middle, I'm going to go hate it.
Yeah, obviously Kenneth Walker signing to the Chiefs motivated this one, and Charbonnet.
Yeah.
Probably going to miss the beginning portion of the season.
Yeah, they definitely need a running back.
Yeah, so, I mean, you could always go out and sign one, trade for one, but I think drafting a rookie would be more beneficial for the Seahawks over here. So last one here. Before we get into this, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about the Pittman to the Steelers?
I like it. I like it a lot. We really had no other wide receiver besides DK Metcalf, and that clearly showed when he was out for the Browns game and the Ravens game. I really like it. I think he'll be a good wide receiver too, take some of the pressure off Metcalf, and I think that was a really good trade for them. I do like that one a lot.
Yep. And then last one here for Love It or Hate It. We have, I'm going to make you talk about this one. The Ravens, number 45 overall, taking Eli Stowers, the tight end, out of Vanderbilt.
Yeah, as a Steelers fan, I wouldn't like this, but as a neutral, this would be a really good pick for them. I feel that way. They just lost Isaiah Likely to the Giants in free agency, and Mark Andrews' career is pretty much over. I mean, he's definitely at the back end of his career and seen a significant decline the past couple years as well. I think this would be a great pick to be Mark Andrews' successor and learn behind him and develop behind him and then eventually be their tight end number one. I think at 45 overall, this would be a really good pick for them.
Yeah, obviously. And then we're going to talk about our team's free agency, so I'm just going to start building off of that. Not only did we lose Isaiah Likely, we also lost Charlie Kohler, which was our tight end 3, which is a really solid guy. He could block, really threat in the red zone there, and could pick up the chunk plays when he needed it. So now we just have Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is my guy. I love Mark Andrews. He's like the best. He's the best receiver in Ravens history, if I'm being honest. But he is also ending. His career is coming to an end, as Tyler said. So I think Stowers shadowing him could be really beneficial to our tight end room, since we only have really one tight end now. But getting into the Ravens free agency here, we lost a lot of key guys. We lost both of our tight ends. Our punter, I didn't really care about anything else. I really cared about Jordan Stout, our punter, because he was all-pro and Pro Bowl, entering the conversation of best punter in the league, and now he's with the Giants. We obviously lost our center, Tyler Linderbaum, to the Raiders. The Raiders made some big moves.
They were cooking yesterday.
We signed John Simpson. He was on the team previously. He was the Jets. We signed him back, offensive guard. He was solid, so I can't complain about that. Replaced Daniel Falele, thank God. But if I were to say about the Ravens free agency right now, I said I'm not really a fan right now, because I mean, we have Max Crosby, we got him, but like, what else? Like, that's a defensive end. I mean, kind of takes the pressure off our D line, because now we have Crosby, Mike Green on the ends. Nnamdi Madubuike, retirement is probably out of the question for him. He is most likely going to come back now.
That's a good thing.
So that really takes the stress off the D line. But then also some receivers here. I don't know what we're going to do with our receiving core, draft one or sign.
Now that you don't have a first-round pick either.
Yeah, we don't have a first-round pick for the next 2 years, but whatever. I guess Max Crosby's worth it. But yeah, I'm not really a fan of the Ravens free agency right now. We just let too many players go, and like Max Crosby isn't going to fill the role of all that we just lost. So hopefully they make some moves. But yeah,
If you had to give it a grade.
I'm probably going to give it a B- right now. Max Crosby, I love it, but just let too many key pieces go. So hopefully we sign someone in the near future. Donovan, let's talk about the Eagles free agency.
I mean, mine shouldn't be too long. We came into free agency with $26 million cap, and I've talked on here once and on 215 Sports Show, Philly Sports Show on Duquesne Student Television, that this free agency wouldn't be too exciting, but maybe we would bring back some of the guys. We had, in my mind, 5 key free agents: Jalen Phillips, Nakobe Dean, Reed Blankenship, Dallas Goedert, and Braden Mann, the punter. Those back to Braden Mann and Dallas Goedert are still available, but Jalen Phillips, Nakobe Dean, and Reed Blankenship are all gone. So Jalen Phillips signed a $30 million per year deal with the Panthers. I love Jalen Phillips. I thought he was great. I thought that was, if Carolina has the money, they can pay him. We didn't have the money to pay him that, so, it sucks that you're losing a great player, but you couldn't have paid him that anyway, and I wouldn't have wanted them to pay him that. Nakobe Dean, again, a guy that I kind of figured was gone. He just wanted too much money for what we would have been willing to pay. It was $12 million a year, and considering how much time he spent injured and how good Jahad Campbell looked in the time he spent starting with Nakobe Dean out, it really was not worth the money. And Reed Blankenship, it was kind of up in the air. Only $8 million a year was a little less than I expected, so I was kind of disappointed to see him go. We have a huge hole at safety now. Again, Sidney Brown starting would not be a good thing. So hopefully they address that. But we did extend Jordan Davis. It was a lot of money, but he deserved it. He got in great shape this year and had his best year yet. And there's still free agents out there. We have $26 million cap again. There are a few guys I'd like to see them go outside, maybe Trey Hendrickson to fill that void at edge, because right now it's Nolan Smith and Jalex Hunt. Maybe Joey Bosa, or a possible reunion with Hassan Reddick. Those are the 3 edge rushers I was looking at, and aside from that, it was just David Njoku if we don't bring back Goddard. If not, I hope we bring back Goddard at this point, because we're losing a lot of guys, and we still have money to pay someone. So hopefully we can bring back Goddard. If not, bring in Njoku, or potentially draft a guy like Sadiq or Stowers. If I had to give it a grade, and the potential Jalen Carter trade rumors, not happening. He's getting extended. I'm choosing to believe that's why we haven't signed anyone, and not because of the cap, because we're extending Jalen Carter, and I don't think A.J. Brown's getting traded either after the Romeo Dobbs signing.
Oh, yeah.
But if I had to give it a grade, I'd probably give it a C+. You were expecting guys to leave, maybe not this many, and they haven't made any signings at all. So I'm going to go C+, just because they haven't lost all their guys yet.
All right, Tyler. Tell us about the Steelers free agency.
Yeah, so I like what they've done so far. They've only had one big departure, which was Kenneth Gainwell going to the Buccaneers. That was kind of expected. He was only on a 1-year deal. But they kind of made up for it. They went out and got Rico Dowdle yesterday for 2 years at $12.25 million for that deal, which isn't bad at all. And I think Rico Dowdle is a really solid running back, and he'll pair well with Jalen Warren. So we'll kind of have that good combo again, those pair in the backfield. And also they still have Caleb Johnson, which I think isn't going to work out. And he really didn't get much time last year, especially after that blunder on the kickoff against the Seahawks.
God.
So I don't know that he'll ever really see the field much time anymore, but I do think Rico Dowdle was a pretty good pickup after losing Gainwell to pair with Warren. And then, like I said earlier, they traded for Michael Pittman yesterday. I think that was a good pickup. I didn't expect them to do much in free agency or with trades or anything. I kind of figured we're in a rebuilding stage now. I don't really need them to do much. I want them to be in the dumps for a little bit so that they can rebuild properly, not keep going 10-7 and losing in the first round. And then they recently picked up Jamel Dean from the Buccaneers for the cornerback, which I think he'll pair well with Joey Porter in the backfield and the secondary. So overall, I would give them a B. I didn't expect them to do this much. Obviously, signing Dowdle to replace Gainwell, that was good, but in terms of picking up Pittman, didn't expect that. Signing Dean, didn't really expect that. So for not really expecting them to be very active and be in a rebuilding process, I would give them a B. They've done pretty solid, more than probably most thought they would do, and gave themselves a chance to win a couple games more than they thought or people think they will this year, which is probably for the worse, actually.
You also brought back Asante Samuel, and I liked that move.
Yeah, I saw that too.
But I was going to ask, what did you think about the departure of James Pierre? Because I know he was a big part of that defense this year.
Yeah, I think it's gonna hurt a little bit, but overall the defense kind of had their problems in very many places. So I don't know that it'll be too big of a deal, but it might show itself.
Right.
He signed with the Vikings, correct?
Yeah.
All right, that's going to wrap it up here. A little bonus segment at the end for you guys. We'll be back next week with our new mock drafts because picks are gone from first round, signings from free agency. So we'll be back with our new and improved drafts. But that's going to do it for On the Clock this week. We will see you next week for episode 7.